Imagine being the youngest prince of the worst nation in the history of the world. Two of your brothers are power-hungry maniacs who are gunning for the royal throne while you're at the bottom with no special talents. This is the life of Hero Caltarossa, who finds himself at his wit's end until he discovers an ability to turn the tides. Let's find out how he is able to do that by diving right into his story. Waking up from his slumber, the third prince of the Caltarossa kingdom internalizes having fresh memories of his former life. Hero Caltarossa remembers that he used to be a Japanese office worker and used to bear the struggles of burdensome work routines and tedious commutes, harboring relationships that he wasn't even fond of. Now, Hero is freed from his hellish life and only wakes up to find himself in a completely different world, hailing his status as the prince of the kingdom. However, any thoughts of living a lavish life crumbled for the boy, who knew that his country was caught in the wheel of impoverishment. Hero practices swordplay with his teacher, and after exchanging a few obvious moves, he is able to overwhelm Heath and marks a decisive win. Heath is proud of the young prince's achievements as his sword instructor and claims that it is quite the feat for the boy to best his master in only 2 years. Hero claims that he would never have beaten Heath in his prime, but his master holds him in high regard. Heath is confident that Hero will be able to protect himself in the wake of an invasion. Hearing his words, Hero winces because he knows that his pitiful and insignificant country doesn't even hold any riches to invade. He believes that even as a conquered state, they would lose nothing because their massive debts have already scared off their neighboring nations from helping them. Damn, these guys are in the trenches. The kingdom of Caltarossa is nothing more than a country full of despair. It is the same country that Hero was born in, with a population of less than 1,000 people. There is also the fact that he is the third prince to the throne, which means his brilliant yet uncooperative brothers also exist. Hero thinks that he is the one who might end up in the seat of the king, which troubles him with the weight of responsibility, even though anyone would rejoice over the thought of being king. Hero is aware that their lands are barren to the point that their agriculture is at an all-time low, and they also don't possess any form of natural resources to save them. The plain and simple reality for this country is that it is compromised in poverty beyond imagination. Letting out a breath of hopelessness, Hero takes Heath to the barren lands. Heath doesn't know why the young prince is interested in helping the people, so he implores the boy, who states that he wants to expand their fields while they're able to. Arriving at their fields, Hero comes amidst the farmers, who are overjoyed to find Prince Hero accompanying them today. They want to show him the progress that they've made and update their prince on what they've done. Hero is told that a particular tree is causing them issues. Confused, he looks towards the giant tree, which is so strong that not even 10 of the farmers are capable of chipping through. Hero knows that the beautiful tree has lived for many years on this land and finds himself saddened to cut it down. However, he wants to act for his country's benefit and decides to strengthen his sword with his magical powers. Hero reflects that there are magical powers that exist in this special world that only manifest in people of the chosen bloodlines. Hero used the strengthening magic on his body, allowing him to immensely strengthen his sword. He delivered an incredibly wide slash that instantly severed the tree and caused it to collapse to the ground. The farmers were impressed with the prince's abilities, as he made it possible for them to continue their work. Prince Hero is also given some steamed potatoes to help himself because of his considerate efforts. The farmers are happy with the thought of cultivating enough food before winter. Hero takes a bite out of his steamed potato, pondering how they are all good people. He remembers the heavy loss of their people, which came due to starvation only last winter. Hero is determined not to let such an outcome plague his country again. He wants to cultivate even more fields and thinks that even the potatoes were acquired from other nations. These special potatoes actually grow in even their bad soil and save their country from massive starvation. Even then, it came with a taxing price that Hero could never forget. Returning to his chambers, Hero is greeted by his beautiful elder sister, who has come to see him. Mary is the first princess of the Caltarossa kingdom and claims that she only came here because her husband is on an expedition. And now comes the topic of the heavy price that they had to wager. Mary was used as their human sacrifice, as the prince of a wealthy nation fell in love with her and formed a marriage. However, marriage was only allowed under the condition that the prince's nation assisted Caltarossa. Because of that, they were able to control starvation deaths to some extent. But Hero still remembers his frustrated state from only last year. Oof, so he's really mad because of his sister's marriage. Hero couldn't save his sister in the end. The prince also became infamous for his terrible behavior, which resulted in Mary's demise, as she is now in an even unhealthier state than before. Hero also noticed her bruises and knew that she had been hurt. The boy can't help but feel sad and controls his tears before inviting his sister for dinner. Mary and Hero are presented with a handful of meal options, which doesn't seem like much of a privilege, but it is for their standards. Mary makes known that she is aware of her brother's valiant efforts in cultivating some of the lands in his country. Hero knows that he has been working hard so that they can plant the very potatoes they receive from the other nation. He has been doing so to ensure her efforts never go to waste. Mary embraces her brother and reminds the boy not to push himself so hard. Hero reflects that even his efforts wouldn't be enough because there is a limit to the resources they have. Even though he can help out in cultivation due to his magic, that's about it for his abilities. Hero is troubled because he knows that his efforts mean nothing compared to the state of the country. He is just an average office worker who knows next to nothing about accomplishing his dreams, which is why Hero thinks that he has hit a wall. Poor boy, press F for Hero in the comments. Even if that is the case, the boy yearns to do something for his country and expresses a weary face. Mary comforts him, reminding him that she will try to do her best for his sake. Hero hesitantly asks his sister if she would be willing to come back if the country is wealthy. Mary claims that she still won't be able to, and soothes the boy before bidding him farewell. Hero takes note of her goodbyes and slams his fist, frustrated and now driven to seek power. Hero knows that his efforts amount to next to nothing, which is why he wants to seek a convenient power that could completely overturn his situation. As if to hear his calls of misery, Hero receives an answer from a voice in his head, and becomes startled at once. Hero finds his heart experiencing an uncomfortable burn and wonders who is behind such tricks. The voice claims that it is an informer. Hero is perplexed and finds a mystical power overflowing within. The informer claims that it has always kept a close eye on the boy and knows that he wields a strong desire, hoping to assist the boy. It is then that Hero remembers that people are wielding extremely rare magic in this world, and in this case, Hero's magic is extremely unique and answers the call of its master's every desire. The informer is not just a voice, it is the call of Hero's magic itself. The informer skill can provide any information requested by the master, acting as a vision appraisal. Its usage depends mainly on the amount of mana being deployed, and it is highly restricted to once every 30 days. Whoa, that's such a limiting ability. Hero knows that he has been blessed with a great ability, but suffocates at the thought of such a taxing timeout. He decides to test his ability, and wonders what object he should use to summon information, based on the extent of his current mana. After thinking it over, Hero requests the informer to teach him the methods of making an efficient fertilizer that he can make and produce for himself. Hero's request is answered, as the voice immediately gets to the explanation of the required components and the necessary materials. After the long explanation of the procedure, Hero is pretty impressed, because his ability also tells him where the items can be found. With the maximum mana consumption reached, the informer also allows him to use a rank information. Hero is surprised and blessed, as the informer tells him that any standard fertilizer procedure would be time-consuming. There is another way, and so the informer instructs him to learn alchemy to fasten the process. Hero is shocked to come to terms with the realization, while his spell tells him that he could speed up the process of acquisition by twice if he acquired the skill. Hero questions the process, as alchemy has only been a practice shunned away by the church. The magic itself has been forgotten for centuries, which is why he would be navigating through a work of taboo. Despite this fact, Hero knows that he could materialize anything through alchemy with the aid of his skill, which would, in turn, provide salvation for his wretched and oppressed nation, even to the extent of flourishing the world. Hero battles against his beliefs against the church, and convinces himself that he isn't just scared of an ill omen. The informer mentions the exact location of the skill acquisition, and even provides him with direct coordinates. The informer tells him that the legacy of the legendary alchemist, known as Kaisar, lies within the coordinates, so it would be best for Hero to retrieve the skill at once. Hero is shocked that the alchemist's legacy resides in such a country, and immediately begins his journey to acquire the skill. Out on his own in the cold, Hero contests his struggles and arrives in a strange cave. Hero knows that the informer told him to come to this exact location, and wonders if he should buff his physical strength using mana strengthening. Instead, Hero decides to preserve the skill so that he can use it later. He paces inside the deep cave. Hero is alarmed to find a structure that looks somewhat like a man-made struggle. He wonders if the puzzle is responsible for guarding something behind, and realizes that this must have been Kaiser's legacy. Thankfully, Hero has always been great at solving puzzles, and manages to tinker with them until completion. With his successful attempt, the walls of the puzzle open before him, giving him entrance to a secret room. Hero enters this room and becomes astonished when he discovers the remains of the legendary alchemist. With his endless wealth of knowledge, Hero is greeted, as it has been more than a century for Chronal's long and aching wait. Hero questions if it is indeed the legendary alchemist, only to receive a confirmation from the sorcerer himself. Chronal states that he is just a golem implanted with his memories at the moment, and he has been longing to wait for a successor. Hero is stunned that the works of alchemy could bring forth such a magical situation, and understands why this ability is considered sinful in the eyes of the church. Chronal advises Hero to make use of the short time they have in their reunion, as the mana residing within the golem will only last for another 5 days at most. Hero is faced with the realization that every fleeting second is worthwhile, and thinks that even a moment's hesitation would be a waste of time. Hero immediately requests the golem to teach him the hooks of being an alchemist. At the same time, Chronal tells him that he will pour his endless knowledge and experience into the boy until his final few moments. Hero also knows that he can boost his recovery speed with his mana, making it possible for the boy to manage work without sleeping, and allowing Hero to work continuously for 5 days without taking a single break. The only notable problem would be his mysterious absence from the castle. They're gonna be like, where the heck has the prince disappeared off to? Chronal emphasizes that the boy won't be learning more than a few fundamentals in this short duration, deeming it important for him to return to these chambers to learn more from the materials provided in the room. Hero realizes that he has to learn the building blocks first so that he can grapple with the rest on his own, which is exactly what Chronal has intended for the boy. The boy introduces himself as Hero Caltarossa, and his heritage speaks volumes to Chronal, who finds his eyes befitting the bloodline. Chronal thinks that they should initiate training, to which Hero is excited to agree. With that, 5 days fly in an instant, matching them with their final day of parting. Chronal questions the boy if he has aptly understood the fundamentals, which Hero thinks he has. Hero revises that alchemy activates by imbuing special blue jewels with mana, altering the wavelength. He reflects that it is different from other forms of magic, and its rules are similar to those of programming. The concept of the arrangement and positioning of the symbols and the links of mana are unified through many calculations to achieve the desired effect. Hero is aware that these combinations could produce matter or much of anything, making it one of the most logical forms of sorcery. Chronal finds his description sufficient and becomes proud of the boy for learning so much in such a short time. Hero internalizes pride in the programming skills that he has learned from his previous life. Nerd alert. Bro was a dedicated computer science major in his previous life. Chronal confirms alchemy's connection to logic and states that it is the most beautiful form of magic. He is also greatly relieved to pass on at last, allowing the boy to become his successor, and entrusting his wisdom to the prodigy. Thanking the boy, Chronal wishes him the best and hopes for the boy to nurture the next generation to come. With those words, he rests in his slumber, his consciousness forever passing on to the next life. Hands down the best character in the manga, so cool. Hero receives his master's words in kind, and emphasizes that he will carry out his wishes with great regard. Hero paces his way back, reflecting on how he has learned the basics and understood the fundamentals. He wants to learn the rest of the information from the resources left behind by the legendary alchemist. In complete contrast to his dangerous and miserable situation, Hero declares that he has acquired power at last, a power that is deemed forbidden in this world. With this power, the boy intends to change everything in the world. A time skip of 2 years follows the training of Hero, who had been vigorously learning to acquire special techniques. Alchemy is a technique of processing that requires base materials and alters the characteristics of matter, but not to the extent of turning stone into gold. Haha, even alchemy can't help you go rich overnight. Hero knows that by deploying the right strategies, he could easily bring forth incredible sorcery to become wealthy. He thinks that if he had an ounce of selfishness, he would be fleeing the country for himself. However, Hero has a duty and a job to entrust to the country. He likes the country and wants to use his newfound powers to save it from its sorry state and bring back his sister. In light of the goal, Hero has made several preparations over these 2 years, allowing his plans to set in motion. Hero was confident for the most part until he met a particular visitor. This girl is a childhood friend of the boy. Hibana greets Hero properly and is the granddaughter of his sword master, Heath. Hero doesn't like her continuous teasing, while Heath tells him that Hibana has become incredibly skilled and acquired the enlistment to the Bronze Knights at the mere age of 14. the girl was accepted into the strongest knight brigade in the battle that housed only the first-class swordsmen. Hero wonders why Hibana bothered coming back if she was succeeding well in life, and questioned her decision to reject the path to the Gold Brigade of Knights, achieving the highest honor. Hibana finds herself annoyed with his dumbfounded question, and reminds him that she came back to fulfill their promise. Hero finds himself troubled remembering such a thing. The scene plays into a flashback interaction between the two friends. Hibana comforted the boy while both of them cried. It was during the time his sister was supposed to be sent off for the wedding. Back then, Hero vowed to change the course of the country in the future, despite his powerlessness in the present. Hibana became excited by his declaration, and told him that she would be by his side as his weapon. Hibana tells him that she has been unsure about her return, remembering her memories of growing up, knowing that changing this country's state would be next to impossible. Hibana then studied abroad, and was only made more aware of the kingdom's ruined state. She became frightened at the thought of Hero abandoning his country, and decided to work towards the Golden Brigade instead. Hero thinks that she took the right course of action, and wonders what made her change her mind. Hibana tells him that when she wrote her grandfather a letter asking about the prince, Heath replied that Hero refused to give up and worked hard to accomplish his goals. The response made her very happy, which is why she willingly chose to return to the kingdom, to see if Heath's words carried weight. Hero turns to the smiling old man and is told that Hibana was informed of his initial plans. Both Heath and Hibana tease the boy for being so open to them, while Hero finds solace in his two loved ones. Knowing that he has his two allies by his side, Hero thinks that he is ready. To satisfy her curiosity, Hibana asks how he plans to save the hopeless state of their country, and if he even possesses the power to make the change come to reality. Hibana wants to save the country to keep its promise, but knows that if it is impossible, she will eventually have to abandon a foolish dream. Hearing her determined words, Hero decides to show her something that will interest her. The prince takes them inside his special chambers, surprising them with a room that they had not yet seen before. Hibana is shocked that he could build the room and the tunnel leading to it, claiming that it would have taken a single person a decade to accomplish what he did. Hero tells them that all of this was made possible due to sorcery, as it would be unbelievable through manpower alone. Heath questions his interest in sorcery and is impressed. Hero emphasizes that nothing is worth impressing over what is about to come next. He opens the door to the results of the past 2 years, creaking open a light that will make his kingdom prosperous. The reveal comes to be of a beautiful and enriched field filled with wheat. Hibana is shocked at how he is able to grow wheat in a kingdom such as their own, as even with his ancestors' best efforts, they failed to accomplish such an objective. Hero tells them that this garden is his personal testing ground to experiment and produce a larger product for his country. He claims that one of the successes of his efforts came to be wheat. He has significantly improved its hardness and allowed it to grow in harsh and cold environments, being more resistant to diseases with a faster growth rate. Hero says that he planted the wheat in spring and grew it at such a rate in early summer, meaning it is quite impressive. Hero also tells them that their meals are going to taste rich because of the starch. Hibana wonders if his efforts will translate well into the surface. Hero claims that even with the perfect wheat he has, a nutrient-rich soil is necessary to allow its growth. He points to the soil and states that he has used a fertilizer, which just so happens to be a giant monster's corpse. They're both surprised by the unique application. Heath tells him that the monsters contain miasma, polluting the environment. Hero responds that he made a seed for the cause. Planting it inside the corpse allows him to use the monster's nutrients for growth, nullifying the miasma at the same time. That is how the soil becomes an enriched fertilizer, allowing him to manipulate and use the corpses of monsters in his favor. Hibana is astounded by Hero's intricate plans and thinks that they'll be able to cultivate the lands of Caltarossa. Hero confirms that they can swiftly make their lands prosperous, allowing the country to become a major food exporter at the same time. He declares that this is just the beginning, and with enough power, he will turn the tides of the nation. Hero recalls that he was only a powerless child back then, but now he has enough power to realize his dreams. Extending his hand to Hibana, he offers her to keep their promise. Enthusiastic by her friend's genius accomplishments, Hibana takes his hand and states that they will definitely be able to change the course of the country, and vows to become his sword for the cause. During this moment, Heath is observing cautiously, and questions Hero for nurturing the seeds and creating the underground room. Hero turns to confirm the fact, to which Heath is frightened to ask if all was made possible using the methods declared taboo by the church. Hero knows exactly what he is talking about and takes a breath before revealing that it is indeed the work of alchemy. Heath and Hibana are alarmed by his confirmation. The sword master questions what would happen if the church stepped up to eradicate them. Hero is aware of the consequences and emphasizes that he has already made up his mind. He doesn't care if the powers he has been deemed forbidden, as his primary duty is to save the nation no matter the cause. Hero cares little about the church's opinion and believes wholeheartedly in protecting those he loves most. I mean, the people of their nation are dying. Might as well break a couple of rules for the cause. Drawn to a pause by the boy's admission, Heath realizes that he is dealing with a mature individual who has thought ahead of the consequences. He turns up in joy and decides to aid the prince in his resolve, wanting to provide his full support. Even Hibana embraces Hero, telling him that even with the truth of alchemy, she has not changed her opinion of him in the slightest. Instead, she has found a resolve to cut down any and all who will come after him in his cause. Blessed by the support of his loved ones, Hero decides to rely on them. Hibana passes Hero the idea of her becoming his knight and wonders if he can appoint her instantly. Heath scolds her for not knowing that it requires a formal appointment. Hibana doesn't like the thought of such formalities, but Hero backs Heath's claim, stating that it is important for her to become recognized by others as his knight, so that she can freely carry out her missions. Hibana requests a placeholder sword for the time being, an idea that Hero doesn't like, because he wants a formidable blade. Hibana shares the idea of Hero crafting a special sword with his alchemy magic, which Hero confirms is what he was actually thinking about. He wants to create a blade so powerful that it surpasses even the holy blades of the knights. Hibana reminds him that the holy blades are only even held by 12 members, deeming them quite honorable for a knight. Hero thinks that he should accomplish such an objective if he wants to nurture his country into prosperity. He takes Hibana's current blade and claims that he will be using it as a foundation to make her new sword. Hero observes the blade and finds it formed by an incredible alloy and tempered to perfection. He thinks he's actually gotten a cheat code that helps him close the gap between the skill and time needed to create such a weapon. He asks for any special requests from Hibana, who states that she prefers speed over weight, as she is a slasher rather than a crusher. She runs him a number of different requests, and so Hero takes his stance to prepare her blade. With his alchemy magic, Hero distributes his powers and creates a copy of her blade in an instant. They are shocked to bear witness to the extent of alchemy with Hero's new powers. Proceeding to her testing, Hibana prepares a slash with all her might and severs the statue clean, without feeling any form of resistance. She finds her weapon incredible, which is a reaction that Hero also shares, because he is impressed by her strength. Hibana states that she didn't use any magic to buff her strength, which Hero is pleasantly surprised by. In other words, this girl is a force to be reckoned with. Hibana begs Hero to acquire the sword, but the prince states that it is his weapon instead. Noticing Hibana's saddened reaction, he tells her that he will craft an even better sword for his knight using special materials. His words light up her reaction, and she is excited about what he is going to make. After their training, Hero reflects that he can't fail to meet her expectations, especially after witnessing her smile. He puts together the necessary materials required to create her blade, and knows that there are even better materials than mithril to create such a weapon. Hero has actually acquired claws and fangs from the monsters that he used to make his fertilizer. These have special properties like metals, making them rigid and difficult to break. It is no different than monsters cladding their own weapons, which means these materials are congruent with the use of mana. Hero thinks that while the monster's remains can be refined into epic weapons of brute force, the miasma within the magic sword actually wears away and damages the user. Even with that cold reality, there are plenty of magic sword users who wield the power while accepting the sacrifice. Hero knows that the nullification of such miasma is actually the basics of alchemy, which means Hibana wouldn't be receiving any of the negative effects. Using his alchemy tool, a crystal ball, Hero nullifies the miasma and absorbs any harmful contents. He actually intends to store such miasma containers to use them for other materials later. With his early preparations set in motion, Hero decides to use a special hammer made in a similar way to smash the monster's miasma-free remains and dissolve them in the process. Hero has actually sourced his materials from 3 different kinds of monsters, including the edge bear, the hound dog, and the saber eagle. He has snatched the sharpest parts of these formidable creatures and mixed them, allowing them to come together as a singular substance. The synergy of his combination also strengthens his final product. Hero recalls that his informer skill guided him in the mixing ratios and the processing methods of each product, which is how he is able to create a sword that is capable of fending off the holy blades. After the powdered mixing procedure, Hero decides to form the sword with his mana, in light of the requests that Hibana made. Hero ends up creating an elegant blade that looks more like a decoration than a tool for killing. Adding his finishing touches to the product, Hero applies a directionality to the blade and enhances its performance. Finally, he applies the enchantment procedure, which is the golden part of the alchemical process, infusing mana into such objects to strengthen their abilities tenfold. Hero used the Blessing of Slice, which further improved the blade's swing. With that, the sword became complete, much to the satisfaction of Hero, who is confident that Hibana will be happy with the results. The scene switches to the royal palace, where Hibana Crawford is officially dubbed the Knight of the Prince. Hibana accepts the duty and claims that her sword exists to protect Hero. Hibana thanks him for creating the finest and most beautiful sword she has ever seen. Hero wonders if she still doesn't find it pleasing enough because of her expression. Hibana assures him that it is because of her nervousness in front of the people, a thought that Hero finds baffling. Meditating on her words, Hero instead believes that it is he who is probably being made fun of for being a lousy prince. Thankfully, Hibana happens to be Heath's granddaughter and has the skills to back her claims. Hero notes that there are, in fact, people present who realize the brunt of her strength and instead want her for their own gains. Hero doesn't intend to give her up, seeing her as a friend and a partner with whom he bears a sacred promise. With his preparations complete, Hero thinks that he can act on his plans. However, he is cautious of his two brothers plotting behind the scenes. Hibana thanks the prince for entrusting her as his knight and tells him that she will forever cherish the blade that he made for her. However, her tone shifts as she also has something to give to him. Hibana presents a unique vessel for his informer magic, which looks like an accessory bag up front. Hibana runs him the idea that every time he uses informer, it makes him seem like he is talking to himself, which makes him seem lonely and sad. She wants him to pour the essence of his magic into the vessel instead. Hibana continues to tease him with the doll. She leaves him with the vessel, much to Hero's annoyance, who wonders what Hibana is doing. Hibana tells him that she's practicing her swings in the office and claims that she has to stay by his side at all times. Hero thinks that it will be tiring for him to watch her swing a log every day, while she reminds him that she intends to become the strongest fighter for his sake. Hibana states that there are at least 8 swordsmen that outclass her in skill, which is what she intends to surpass through her training. Hero muses her words and thinks that Hibana is confident she can beat a minimum of the 4 golden knights, which is quite the confident claim. Hero knows that a bronze knight is not something anyone can acquire with plain money, so the fact that she stays by his side is a matter of luck, if anything. Hero wonders if she likes her new weapon, to which Hibana is excited to reply that she feels so strong that it seems unfair. Hibana is confident that her blade will defeat any opposing weapon that isn't using a magic or holy sword. Hero advises her to master the weapon as his knight, and thinks that he has a better training opportunity for her. Hero tells her that they're going on a trip and sneaking out of the castle. However, Agata takes note of the boy's words and questions where he is interested in going. Hero Caltarossa, as the second prince of the kingdom, tells him that he is aware of the prince's schemes and questions what he plans to do next, as there have been various rumors floating around. Hero reflects that Agata has already taken note of his wheat preparations, which is why he has only come here to discourage him. Hero knows that he should have taken added precautions to his steps, and thinks that it is impossible to hide it from Agata. Hero tells him that he has no intentions of gaining any favors with the townsfolk, and simply intends to make the country prosperous. Responding sharply, Agata tells him that it is because he wants to take the throne of the king for himself. Hero emphasizes by repeating his words, denying the accusation. Hero tells Agata that he doesn't want to fight his brothers in terms of politics, and encourages Agata to become the king instead. Agata is surprised by his surprising confession. Hero claims that they do need a strong king, which is why he will also be far behind Takumu, who excels in strategy and leadership. Hero admits that there isn't any place for a person like him with no talents. Agata decides to take his bait and tells the boy that their country has been holding on because of Hero's and Mary's efforts. Hero wasn't expecting his brother to acknowledge his contributions, and he was right, because Agata is at odds with Hero's efforts and knows that it has become a problem in front of the people who are wondering what he's up to. Hero wonders what his true purpose is, so Agata gets straight to the point. Agata conveys Takumu's message, which is to remind the boy that he will be coming of age to fulfill his royal duty to slay monsters. Agata acknowledges that the boy has acquired a knight, but also believes that he needs an entire brigade instead. Hiro doesn't seem too worried and thinks that he's strong. Agata takes note of the annoyed Hibana, who is ready to jump at the second prince at any moment. Agata casually walks up to her and asks her to become his knight instead. Even Hibana is shocked, while Hiro thinks that it is because of her that he actually came to pay a visit. Agata claims that he can provide better working conditions than his brother. Hibana openly rejects him to the face and states that she is loyal to the third prince. Agata decides to take his leave, and right as he is about to take his exit, Agata declares that he is going to back his little brother no matter his plans. Hiro realizes that Agata didn't come to stop him, but lent his aid instead. Agata emphasizes that Takumu becoming a king would become quite problematic, which is why he is willing to side with Hiro instead. Nah, this guy is definitely sus. Hiro contemplates whether Agata wants to use him as a tool to get ahead of Takumu in their eventual succession. However, Hiro also doesn't have any choice but to trust Agata so that he can use him for his own plans. Hiro weighs the pros and cons of the choice and tells Agata that it would be beneficial to have him by his side. Agata takes his words into account and decides to wait until Hiro comes to his conclusion. Hibana shows her distaste for the man who treated her prince with disrespect. Hiro tells her that Agata is actually sincere despite his looks, which Hibana still doesn't find convincing. Hiro knows that Agata never lies when he strikes a deal, but Hibana doesn't like the fact that Agata constantly undermines Hiro and understands the rift between the three brothers. Hiro meditates on her words in confirmation, acknowledging their divide. Hiro knows that one day his father went off somewhere and came back with him. This is the reason his brothers Agata and Takumu aren't pleased with welcoming him into the family, and especially not in favor of making him the king. Hibana ponders Hiro's words from his conversation with Agata and questions his interest in becoming a king. Hiro confirms that he bears no intentions to become the king, as he has much more freedom as a prince instead. Hiro thinks that he won't have any time to practice or refine alchemy if he becomes king, which is why he decides to push the heavy lifting to his brothers. Hibana shares a different view, as she believes it is likely for Hiro to become king in the end. Hiro wonders if the girl is desperately hoping for him to become king. Hibana tells him that her intuition is as strong as a knight. Without delaying their trip much further, Hiro tells her that he's going to make Hibana use her strength to the best of her abilities. Arriving in the majestic and ethereal magical forest, Hibana realizes that she will be able to fight against numerous monsters to help with her training. The magic forest is actually the nesting ground of monsters of unmatched strength, who actually emerge from the forest and wreak havoc in their lands. The rampage of such beasts has actually proven to be problematic for the kingdom of Caltarossa. Hibana thinks that their disguise isn't the best in a fight, as the clothing is barely secure against an attack. Hiro assures her that the clothes only look light, but they're protective thanks to his alchemy. He has especially weaved them from the threat of an insect monster and enchanted them for boosted defense. Their outfits are so strong that not even Hibana's blade can cut through Hiro's clothes. Of course, the prince is annoyed that Hibana decided to stab him just for the sake of a test, and thinks that he would have died in the case of normal clothes. Hibana nearly ended the story of the reincarnated prince, haha. Hiro thinks that he really has to correct her personality because she is bound to cause him a lot of trouble, just as she is. Hibana also shares that she finds it easy to depend on Hiro as her childhood friend, a remark that he finds fulfilling. Continuing their journey, Hibana questions why they came here. Hiro outlines their two objectives for the quest, as their first mission is to confirm the resources present in the horrific forest. Hibana wonders if the forest is home to some kind of ore. Hiro tells her that instead, he is looking for the different types of monsters, as they are the real resources. Hibana is shocked to hear his unique perspective on materials. At the same time, Hiro reminds her of the fertilizer he made, the clothes that he weaved, and the sword that he crafted. These were all items that were made possible because of materials acquired from the monsters. Hiro states that alchemy allows an effective way to utilize the remains of monsters, and they're actually the most abundant resource in the country that has nothing to offer as a resource. Hibana acknowledges his clever approach, while Hiro advises her to run if she ever feels the need to. He reminds her that the monsters they have fought thus far are incomparable to the monsters who are territorial in the forest, making them a threat on another level. Hibana tells him that she has no interest in running away, and instead charges ahead to finally make use of her special blade. Hiro entrusts her with the task, and they end up reaching the barricade structure. Hiro knows that their real battle lies ahead, But Hibana is curious about his other objective, aside from acquiring monster resources. Hero tells her that they need something necessary to save the country. Hibana wonders what he implies with such words, while the guards of the barricade question Hero's presence in the dangerous forest. They advise him not to go beyond. Hero claims that he is proficient with his sword, and his knight happens to be on a whole different level. Hero is confident that nothing will go wrong in this journey and demands that they clear a path, as it is necessary for their country's future. With such pressure from the third prince, the guards decide to let them pass, hoping and praying for them to be safe. However, right at that moment, the battalion of the first Prince Takumu returns from their missions. Hero isn't pleased to meet his brother so soon, but he knows that he has no choice in the matter. Stepping forth with his tall stature, Lord Takumu Caltarossa glares at him. Who in the name of a guts look-alike is that? Hero is surprised that he got to meet his brother in such a place. He tries to spark a conversation by asking if Takumu is busy slaying monsters. Takumu cuts him short, stating that the battlefield ahead isn't for someone with half-hearted intentions. Hero responds appropriately, stating that he has come well prepared for the consequences. Takumu tells him that he can do as he pleases, except he won't be jumping in to save him from trouble. However, he also believes that Hero has a chance of survival with his new knight. Hero confirms that Hibana is outstanding as a fighter. Takumu gets straight to the point and reveals that Hero has teamed up with Agata. The boy is shocked that Takumu was able to find out in an instant, as the matter only occurred a couple of hours back. The informer believes that it may have been Agata who intentionally told Takumu to warn him. Takumu states that their country can never afford to become prosperous until the right time comes. Hero contemplates if Takumu means to imply an invasion. Hero knows that others never conquered the country because of its worthless land. Hero does remember that they possessed valuable land and a population, unlike their current size. However, they were conquered immediately by another country, which left them with the current land that borders their magic forests. Hero understands the concerns that can be brought with their land gaining value, which would invite the nearby countries to invade and take the resources for themselves. With those concerns in mind, Hero tells his brother that he is aware of his intentions to take back their flourishing lands. However, he finds that their military strength is not comparable to the might of the foreign forces, as they would fail to protect even the current state of the country. Hero knows that Takumu is insistent upon taking the area that supplied food for the country, as if they acquire that area, it will fix their population and starvation issues, resolving the two major problems. Even with that in sight, Hero knows that they will face massive retaliation after reclaiming the land, as they don't have a surefire chance of winning against a frontal assault of countries twice their population size. He knows that the strategy is sound in some regard, and also knows that his brother is plotting something that will win them the advantage. Takumu begins to speak, stating that their plan will be realized soon, so long as his brothers don't intervene. Takumu claims that if the enemy catches onto their preparations and attacks before they're even ready, then all hope will be lost. Takumu declares that he will cut down both of his little brothers if they dare to step in his way. Takumu is confident that he is the only one capable of saving the nation, and thinks that his two brothers have more important roles to fulfill after him. Showcasing bloodlust of his own, Takumu warns him not to step in front of him. Bro is literally a psychopath. After their brutal encounter, Hero takes a breath of relief and knows that his brother is ready to swing his blade against their heads if they breach his defenses. Hero doesn't intend to slow down his plans and knows that Takumu's approach isn't necessarily wrong. Agata is also aware of Takumu's dangerous plans, which is why he is acting cautiously and supporting Hero, as their chances of victory are slim in a direct assault. Agata knows that even after the victory, they will never be able to maintain peace for long. Agata is risk-averse in that regard, and thinks that the country is bound to embrace chaos if it is left up to Takumu, which is the reason he paired with Hero despite their mutual hatred. Agata intends to save the country with his methods, such as strengthening relationships with stronger countries, so that they can be protected in times of war. Takumu will only pose an obstacle in this plan. The hostility of the two brothers seems ironic, when one considers that they're both trying to save the country in their way. Hero adds that all three siblings want to achieve the same end result. He looks at Hibana, who seems focused on thought. Hibana shares that Takumu is an overwhelming figure with his strength. Hero reminds her that Takumu is actually the strongest man in their entire country. Hibana thinks that Takumu could take down a golden knight on his own, with a better weapon. Hero questions if Hibana would be able to win if Takumu ever decided to get rid of them. Hibana thinks about it for a moment, and claims that she will last no longer than 3 minutes. Hero is baffled by their slim chances and thinks that they shouldn't fight at all. Hero intends to avoid a confrontation because he also values Hibana's life. Damn, the dude is a threat to their existence. Hero acknowledges that Agata's support is necessary to propagate his inventions, and he also knows that Takumu's military might be needed, especially after the country becomes prosperous. He wants to fortify Takumu's troops by handing them strong weapons with his alchemy. He also wants to take back the same land that Takumu is gunning after, which adds another layer of reason as to why he needs to ally himself with Takumu's militaristic strength down the road. Hero understands that both of his brothers are amazing compared to his talents. At the same time, he knows that they're selfish and don't fare well with cooperation. Hibana points to the fleeting sunlight, barely making past the shade of the forest. She thinks that it is time for them to hunt down monsters. Coming back to her question regarding Hero's secondary objective, she asks him to fill in the details. Hero declares that their second reason is actually salt. Hibana is shocked that her prince needs salt from the deadly forest, and wonders if there are any mining sites. Hero claims that there is an ocean at the other end of the forest, which was marked by the legendary alchemist. Hibana is excited at the thought of the ocean, and thinks that they can acquire as much sea salt as they want. She thinks it will become the perfect export to sell, as the neighboring countries only have rock salt. Hero claims that their mission is to find this ocean, and establish a safer route to it. The fact that brooding monsters exist in their way is a hassle, with their compasses also proving to be useless. Hero devised a magic pin for the cause, allowing them to see their current locations by pairing magic stones. Hero is glad that they were able to confirm these facts, while Hibana hears the presence of an approaching monster. Hero is surprised that she was able to take note of the monster, and thinks that it is their best opportunity. At first, Hero is the one who wants to start their battle, and wants to show off his skills. Hero proceeds to call forth his mithril and gunpowder refinement, summoning his incredible magic bow. Topping it off with his analyzation skill, Hero has also refined his right eye into a magical one, allowing him impressive perception and access to different kinds of visions. He uses X-ray vision to locate the monster's inner structure and observe the beast's incoming assault. Hero claims that he can also see the direction of the wind itself, and finally pulls a charged shot, releasing the arrow with boundless might, as it strikes the beast before decimating it with an explosion, and leaving ashes in its wake. Hibana is impressed that Hero is capable of predicting a monster's slightest movements, and blowing up the beast. Hero tells her that the magic he imbued in his arrow allowed him to achieve such a result, subjugating the potent beast. Hearing more monsters approaching him, Hero decides to test his magic spear, surprising Hibana as she thinks of him as just a swordsman. Hero corrects her that he is an alchemist who is willing to use anything that is available, including a spear for medium range. Hero plans to use all kinds of weapons, depending on the required task. The scowling monsters are waiting to strike him down, before jumping for an attack. Hero uses the might of his spear to effortlessly stab them in range, declaring that his Magi metal refinement wields the power of 1,000 armaments. Hibana is stunned by his powers, and thinks of his powers as cheating. Hero tells her that Hibana's blade is much stronger, as his changing weapons could only slow him down. Nah, bro is a video game character with an endless amount of weapons. Suddenly, Hibana is attacked by a monstrous bear as she prepares for battle. Hibana lunges forth, cleaving apart the monster's limbs piece by piece, before delivering the decisive blow by severing its head. Toppling this beast, Hibana states that she likes cutting down all of her foes with a single weapon that she has mastered. Hero internalizes that her movements were beyond his eyes, yet they were elegant at the same time. He questions if Kinnar houses other strong knights just like her, to which Hibana responds that there are 8 knights stronger than herself. Hero doesn't want to worry about Kinnar, as their kingdom doesn't have any involvement with them for the meantime. However, he knows that they might try to obtain the technologies that he has made use of in their country. The boy knows that they have to become as strong, as well as prosperous, which is why he is preparing himself for their battles to come. Hero wants to prepare a country strong enough to defeat the likes of Kinnar to the point they become unrivaled. Hibana is impressed that he aspires to a level that far. Hero decides to keep the claws of the bear and puts them inside his miasma-resistant bag for safekeeping. Hibana wonders why he is unable to remove the miasma at present. Hero tells her that it would use a considerable amount of mana, which he doesn't want to compromise inside the dangerous forest. Hibana wraps the bag and carries it like nothing, despite the total weight being 30 kilograms. Yo, this girl is slaying monsters in her part in the story. Hibana wants an even stronger monster to show up next time, while Hero teaches her information regarding their previous fight. Apparently, they fought the Blade Bear, which is said to be a dangerous A-rank monster requiring immense precaution. Hibana states that they were far stronger and won, which makes Hero believe that she is a reliable knight, and that it is unlikely for him to be killed by her side. Bro literally has Maki from JJK on his side at this point. Setting their eyes on the vast ocean before them, Hibana is overjoyed by the sound of the waves, and thinks that they were successful in their journey. Hero sheds a tear of joy, having finally acquired salt, which is enough to protect them from being exploited by the neighboring countries. He wipes away his tears before asking how much weight Hibana is capable of carrying. Hibana, being the flawless knight that she is, answers that she is carrying 50 kilograms at present, and is capable of carrying 100 just with her back. Hero decides to prepare 100 kilograms of salt for them to take back. Hibana thinks that it is too much, as finding the ocean is enough of a victory. Hero tells her that it would be much better for them to acquire the salt as well. Hero internalizes that the average person consumes 1.5 kgs worth of salt a year, meaning they only have to do 15 more trips to supply their entire nation. Hero and Hibana decide to prepare the salt. Hero tells her that she can freely assist him later. Because of this, Hibana goes to catch some fish and immediately discovers one in the water. She enjoys her swim, while Hero uses alchemy magic to form a pool in the water. Hero plans to use the intestines of a monster as a water hose to move the seawater into the pool. Hibana is surprised by the inflow of the water and wonders if it is magic. Hero claims that it's actually science instead. He proceeds to refine the seawater into salt with his magic, which Hibana notes is going to consume a bit of Hero's energy. After some time, the result comes to be of salt. Hibana doesn't know why Hero is pouring even more seawater inside. Hero tells her that seawater contains no more than 4% salt at most, which means the amount from just one pool won't be enough. This is the reason he intends to keep pouring in seawater, to acquire even more salt that will be easier to collect. Hibana watches Hero exert himself. The process itself is demanding and consumes much of his mana. She goes on to ensure that he is hydrated and reminds the prince not to push himself too hard. Hero tells her that they are almost done. He asks Hibana to collect the salt using a stretching bag. With enough scraping, they collect the salt, while Hibana wonders if salt was always so easy to make. Hero claims that the process itself takes a week's worth of manual effort, which makes Hibana wonder about the kind of magical training he underwent to sustain so much mana for the cause. Hero claims that mana isn't trained and instead decided at birth, while also reflecting that he was born with an unusually high amount of mana. He thinks that it is a blessing for him to have the skill Informer along with this amount of mana, as the quality of the information is determined by the mana Hero spends on it, which is why he could spam the skill to a certain extent. Though, my boy said he is built different from birth. Although Hero could use his mana to instantly gather the salt, he doesn't want to deprive himself of the remainder of his mana, and insists that they do the process manually. Hibana takes it as a form of training, and carries the heavy weight of the collected salt. She also runs by a rumor stating that a prince of a particular country likes to help peasants in the name of his training. Catching on to her words, Hero thinks that it is indeed an interesting rumor. Hibana aspires to do the same, as she wants to help others while strengthening her own body. Hero thinks that her actions will make her a heroine. Hero tells her that despite his knowledge of the ocean, he still couldn't get here. He had crossed that thought off of his mind. However, because of Hibana's massive strength, he was able to collect the salt for everyone. In light of her valiant contributions, Hero thanks his loyal knight. Hibana, who is struck by the generous compliment, values his words and thanks him in return, because they are now capable of saving their country. Without further thought, they decide to resume their journey back to the kingdom. Navigating through the thickets of the dark forest, they finally find the base of the barricades. Hero thinks that Hibana has preserved a lot of energy, but she tells him otherwise, stating that it has actually worn her out to some extent. Hibana is surprised that monsters haven't really attacked them on their way back. Hero reveals that he actually made use of a special perfume, which is basically a monster repellent. Hibana thinks that their trip could have been much easier if they used the scent from the start. Hero tells her that he had the motive of confirming the types of monsters and only used them because he thought it was dangerous, because of their level of fatigue. Hero reflects that they have confirmed 11 monster types in the forest, and the perfume happens to prove ineffective on 3. Hero tells her that this perfume could allow the soldiers to navigate the forest safely, which is yet another one of his goals. Hibana realizes that Hero not only researched monsters and tested the compass, but he also discovered the ocean, found salt, and even tested the effectiveness of the perfume. Hero thinks that there are many more plans yet to flourish. Before he is able to explain anything, Takumu's guards worriedly welcome the prince. Hero tells them to send an urgent message to the castle to signal both of his brothers that he has discovered salt. In the castle, both Agata and Takumu are standing before the piles of salt. Hero enters the room and apologizes for being late. Agata is annoyed that Hero is the one who is late, despite calling them forth. Hero senses the tension in Agata and Takumu's presence, and realizes that the three different dreams of changing their country are standing present in this room. The first prince, Takumu, excels in military affairs and aims for salvation using militaristic might. Agata is the second prince, a calculating individual who aims for salvation through diplomacy. Agata intends to save the country by making it a vassal nation of a more formidable country. Finally, there is the third prince, Hero Caltarossa, who lacks special talents compared to both and acts as their reserve. Hero has managed to acquire the precious resource of salt because of that, and that is the reason he is entering the ring of their dreams. Takumu immediately questions his little brother on how he managed to acquire the salt. Letting out a gasp, Hero states that he acquired it through an ocean on the other side of the magic forest, from which he obtained the salt. Takumu questions if his words are true. Hero goes on an important rant about salt, leading to many deaths in their country, as they have sold massive amounts of treasures just to buy salt from various other countries. Hero knew that without salt, their dream would never come to reality, as people would continue to die from starvation. His greatest desire was to lead them to acquire their own salt, which is why he refused to lie in front of his brothers. Hero emphasizes with his boldness that he isn't lying. Takumu understands the conviction behind his words and praises his little brother. His praise strikes him with shock, because Hero knows that Takumu is supposed to be the next king. Sensing the right opportunity, Hero states that he has a request for his brother Takumu. Hero tells him that only he and Hibana are able to navigate through the forest, except no one else is capable of doing so. Hero knows that dependency on the two would become problematic, which is why he wants Takumu to lend him his troops. Surprisingly, the first prince tells him that he can easily pick elite soldiers and head to the expedition site at once. He wants Hero to accompany them on the journey. Hero is struck with wonder because of how easily his brothers are accepting him. Hero finds himself incredibly disappointed, having convinced Takumu so easily. However, Agata immediately hammers down, reminding them of the dangers of the forest that is brimming with all kinds of dangerous monsters. Hero turns to his brother and notes that his response is only expected, because he is being left out of contributing to their plans. Hero decides to quell his concerns by demonstrating his special magic tools. He brings forth his special compass, along with a monster-averting perfume. Hibana also brings forth some documents they have prepared for strategies against the various types of monsters. Takumu backs him up, stating that Hero also decided to step foot inside without help and proved his effectiveness. He questions Agata's faith in Takumu's superior troops, as if angered against the second prince for looking down on his men. Agata argues that Hero's story might as well be a lie. Takumu shouts at him, saying that there is no doubt it is, because Hero managed to acquire a good amount of salt and discover an ocean on the other side of the hellish forest. Takumu believes that this is all for the good of the people. With no choice left in the say, Agata chooses to comply with his agreement. Despite everything proceeding smoothly thus far, Agata brings forth a glaring concern. He questions how Hero knew of the ocean past the magic forest, as he would never have traversed the dangerous place without absolute certainty. Agata is also dubious about his methods of acquiring salt in a single day and his tools. Takumu and Agata await an explanation from the boy, knowing that he has to answer some important questions. Damn, they really are treating this like an interrogation, despite his brilliant achievement. Deciding to comply with their whims, Hero instructs them to empty the room that is filled with his guards, as that is his primary condition for the conversation. After they leave, Hero can't find himself put at ease, knowing that they are standing outside. Hero is at odds and remembers that he is just a nobody that his father picked up from somewhere. His brothers question his blood relation and the qualities he may bring forth as a result. There is also the fact that they have different approaches to saving the country. The truth is that the three brothers are all enemies of each other. Hero knows that he has to ally himself with his brothers and has no choice but to reveal his secret. Hero knows that his brothers also wish to save the country, which is why he wants to convince them to come to his aid, recognizing their love for the kingdom of Caltarossa. With that conviction in mind, Hero prepares himself to prove that his powers are necessary to save the country. Hero declares that he inherited the legacy of the legendary alchemist, which is why he can do a number of things, and knows about the ocean from across the forest. Takumu is the first to speak, reminding the boy that the church outlaws alchemy. Agata tells him that it is an even bigger problem, since the church won't just stop with Hiro's death. The boy emphasizes that he is using his powers to save the country, knowing that his country will perish without his aid. Hero knows that his two brothers understand that fact well. Hero thinks that none of their methods have prevailed, to a complete extent. He outlines Takumu's plans to create a magic sword knight brigade, to invade neighboring countries with their own forces. He knows that their troops are strong enough to fight, but they still lack an absurd amount of military might. Hero knows that his plan might come to fruition, but only to little end because the miasma of the magic swords will eat away at his troops infinitely, rendering his troops useless in the end. Hero surmises that Takumu's plan would only be a temporary solution. Turning to Agata, he outlines the plan to become the subordinate of another country, bringing them salvation at the cost of being sold off. Agata strongly believes that there is no other way to save the country. Hero claims that even that solution would amount to little in the end, as they already handed over Mary to prolong the country's life. However, they would only have to sell off more once they become subordinate, ending up with nothing left as slaves of another country. Agata argues that his diplomacy will avoid such an outcome. Hero tells him that despite the best of his efforts, there is no broader scope of the future to extend their country's life, resulting in half-ended salvation. Hero openly disregards both of his brothers' methods. Bro said both their methods are garbage. Agata questions if he plans to save them through alchemy. Hero claims that it's exactly what he intends to do, as this is how he acquired salt. He demonstrates the abilities of alchemy by bringing forth someone important. The maid presents them with a beautiful display of savory white bread. Both Agata and Takumu begin to lose their minds, realizing that their little brother has managed to cultivate wheat in a kingdom like Caltarossa. Hero emphasizes that all of this is the work of alchemy, confirming his powers. He cycles through the many magical inventions made possible with the work of alchemy. Takumu decides to take a bite out of the bread and finds it tasteful, as if he has never tasted anything better in Caltarossa. Agata tries the same, and realizes that the quality is even better than that of exports from other countries. Both of them are shocked that alchemy is capable of achieving such results.